There are huge fallacies around rich and poor, as in there are things that we believe about poor people and things that we believe about rich people. And a lot of those are fallacies. A lot of those are just stereotypes because only poor people know what other poor people are like, and only rich people know what other rich people are like. And the rest of it is all just impression, and it depends on your vantage point. And where we're at now in Australia in 2026, what you have is you have the slow burn crumbling of the Liberal Party, you have the breaking up of the coalition, and you have the Murdoch media and the Murdoch press trying to keep up and trying desperately to set the agenda alongside a party that is losing both influence and power and legitimacy. You have a whole bunch of rich people trying to talk to a nation full of poor people because Australia has now become a nation full of poor people. And you have those who have traditionally held the power in this country. So, not just the people who are in the Liberal Party, but the Liberal Party donors, the people who donate to that party, the people who own our media conglomerates, people like Rupert Murdoch, people like Kerry Stokes, people like Larry Ellison or Larry Ellison's son, who now owns Channel 10. When you look at these figures who are trying to utilize the instruments that they have within the Liberal Party, so people like Angus Taylor, who will represent their interests, also they hope, there is a real disconnect between what's happening at the level of those in power and what is happening on the ground, because the population has very much diverged from those who hold the power because they have all the wealth, and that wealth is not distributed in a way that Australians are able to think about anything or be moved or swayed by anything except their immediate problems and their immediate reality, which is that no one can afford to live in this country anymore. So what you see is you see these headlines and you see these press conferences with people who are essentially rich people trying to talk to poor people, but they don't know how. There's a lot of assumptions and a lot of things that they get wrong when trying to talk to people who are in a cost of living crisis. And there's a few that I'd like to correct. So, poor people are proud. Poor people are proud people. The war cry of poor people is, I don't want your help. I don't want charity. I don't need your help. I don't need your charity. They are proud. Poor people are proud. Much prouder than rich people. It is rich people who grovel. It is rich people who will ask for handouts, who will ask for free things, who will ask, if not demand, that they be given things that they did not earn. They will grovel and they will beg. That is a rich person trait. That is not a poor person trait. Poor people who have never had much to cling to, who have never had material wealth or material possessions, which they can use to either demand things of others or postulate with. Things that are like status symbols that they can be proud of, that can attest to who they are and their place in the world. Without that, there are other things that poor people have traditionally always been proud of and clung to. And those things are internal. So things like having a very strict code of honor. Poor people have all the rule books, all the handbooks when it comes to rules, honor codes, bro codes, ways to behave, things to do, things not to do. One of them is they will not tolerate the company of a sex offender who has abused a child. In prison, if you are a pedophile, you will be killed on the first day, or you will be separated from the group. You will not last one night sharing a prison cell with the poorest of the poor. And yet it is the richest of the rich who will rub shoulders with a convicted sex offender of children, with a convicted pedophile. That is also a rich person trait. I'm sorry to tell you, that is a rich person trait. Poor people do cling to things like reputation. Maybe not family name or dynasties, as is the case with rich people, but things like high scores, things like something someone did once, and that will be remembered as an urban legend, and that will give someone clout. It will give them what's called street cred. But street cred or social currency becomes something that is of very high value in a poor neighborhood. So when you see, for example, Scott's College in a marching band with knee-high socks and matching little drum sets that are in identical uniforms performing in front of the opera house, that is probably something that is considered an accomplishment or something to be proud of in their neighborhoods among their families. But if you ask any kid from a poorer neighborhood or from a poorer suburb, and they would probably tell you they would rather have a broken basketball hoop and poverty than to wear identical matching knee-high socks with an individual drum set performing in front of the opera house, because it is so mortifying to be a rich kid who has to do things at the behest of their rich parents. It's embarrassing the level of emotional and psychological dependency that rich kids have on their parents. Poor kids are more independent because they get left alone so much, because they don't have holiday programs. They become very independent very early. However, they are less likely to advocate for themselves. That is a rich person trait. The ability to advocate for yourself, the ability to see everyone as an equal, even another adult, even if you're a child speaking to an adult, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a nurse, whether it's a teacher, speaking to those people as though they are your equal, that is a rich person trait. Poor people are deferential. They don't like authority, but they understand authority. They recognize authority very early. They know who their peers are, and they know who everyone is in terms of hierarchy. They could rank and class anyone at any organization almost immediately. The people that they rebel strongly against, they are always the ones that have the true power. They will know. Poor people will recognize that first.